Bye! My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our Duck Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Welcome back to another episode of Duck Dogs, everybody. I am your host, Josh Miller. And before we get going, we need to make sure we thank our wonderful partners that make this show possible. So thank you to Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 and 2616 are the food blends that we feed our dogs, our personal dogs, our dogs at the kennel. And from an educational standpoint, if you have been around any of the webinars that have been going on recently with Dr. Spoo and myself, the reason I'm saying also 2616 is that you need to make sure you're finding the right blend of food for your dog per season, per workload, per what you are needing to fuel that dog properly. So Eukanuba Premium Performance 3020 and 2616 is what I would highly suggest looking into for your gun dog. Thank you to Gun Dog Supply. Gun Dog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. So as you're preparing for the upcoming season, make sure you get the tools you're going to be using in the field now so you have time to prep your dog, use those tools, get them acclimated, and then transition into the field successfully. www.gundogsupply.com. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent Cartridge is our shotgun shell of choice. It is also a great option for if you're looking for blanks for your dog to be training with, again, as you prepare them for the season, www.kentcartridge.com. Also, thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test ready kennel, both in the intermediate, the large, and now the new medium size. So no matter how big or small your hunting partner is, you can be sure they're traveling as safe as they possibly can. www.luckyduck.com. Also, thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing. Whether you are hitting the field this fall or finishing up your training season this summer, go check out the gear that will keep you in the field more comfortable for longer. www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for training your own dog at home. Whether you're looking for an obedient companion or the advanced level gun dog or anything in between, www.retrieverroadmap is a great option for you. Video-based library, great community, training groups available in certain areas. It's just a great community of people that will help you achieve your goals. www.retrieverroadmap.com. And last but not least, our newest partner of the show, thank you to Gundog Grind. Gundog Grind is, if you're into coffee, I promise you, this will be the best coffee, at least in my opinion, that I have ever had. And it caters to the people and the organizations that we support and we want to be a part of for our gun dog hobbies. So www.gundoggrind.com. Make sure you order yourself some coffee and get on the regular there because it is just a fantastic. I won't go back to that old coffee. So www.gundoggrind.com. All right, everybody. So we are back in the studio here with the gang again. So we have Zach, we have Dave, we have Eric, and we have Miss Whitney with us today. So we are all here today, and in case maybe this isn't your favorite format, maybe it is. But in case you're wondering, this is not how every podcast or how every episode is going to be from here forward. It is just that it has been a really busy week for me. I went down to Louisiana and spoke at the Delta Waterfowl Expo. Had a horrendous travel home between delays and cancellations and everything else. And so it has just been kind of go, go, go. And I just haven't had time to be in the studio. So we wanted to make sure we got back in the studio and we have some topics that, quite frankly, I think need to be talked about. And we also have some topics that we would like to talk about. So, gentlemen and Miss Lady, thank you for joining here today.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Fun to be back.
So we have a goal for the episode here for Zach. So Zach has this thing.
Oh, here we go.
Like, is it fair to call it a blackout?
100% it's a blackout.
Zach will just all of a sudden like freeze. Like the only way I can describe it is like a fainting goat. It's like all of a sudden he's like in midstream, like and like there's nothing, like frozen, no, like not blinking, not. Oh. There's actually a cartoon character that does this. Does anyone know who it is?
No.
It's on a kid show, and it'll be like tak 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 tak, and then like, oh, you know what? It's on oh my gosh, it's on Rango, that lizard, the like cowboy lizard.
Are you kidding me?
Right? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about. I don't know if he blacks out like
no,
that.
not him, but there's a character in there. It's a girl. I can't remember if she's a lizard or not, but like. She like will talk all of a sudden, but she'll like ding, and like she's just frozen, and you're like, you're still there, and then she'll like jump back in and talk like nothing happened. Like that's how I can describe this.
Well, my brain is working too fast, and that's what I told Whitney I blacked out, and she said she knew what I was talking about.
I do it during seminars. I mean, at least you're not in front of a crowd.
That's true. Well, I am. Like I'm thinking, we're talking to all these people, and I'm trying to come up with a response. I'm thinking about all these different things, and next thing you know. Blacked out.
All that I can think about is like you bashing the door down of like a Taliban leader and like breaking through, and it's like froze.
No, I hopefully never got there. But, I didn't have to talk that much.
I heard about it, but I saw it for real a couple weeks ago, and it was entertaining.
Well, I'm glad we cut it out. For my sake.
Oh, we love you anyway.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So here's what I think we have to start with this. Okay. We have to start with if you guys, if listening, have been around social media at all in the last week, there's a topic in the gun dog community that is a big deal right now, and there are situations that happen periodically that blows this thing up. As to my knowledge, there's 2 or 3 situations going on right now, and that is 3. Okay, so that is hunters, trainers. I know 1 trainer for sure.
2 trainers, and a hunter.
Okay,
I believe.
Beating the heck out of a dog, and I think. Well, I think we have to address this, because I think if we don't, we kind of push it in the background and act like, we're not seeing it. Like, obviously we're seeing it. And I'll tell you what, so like, I think we can all agree very against all this.
Agree.
100%.
For sure.
Okay? I think, although it goes without saying, I want to say it. I think there's a lot of emotion wrapped up into this with people that are upset about this, as I think it warrants it. I think there should be, and I would certainly expect that the repercussions come for those people in a deserving manner. Okay, and I'm going to trust that process takes place in the manner it's supposed to take place. What I'd like to talk a little bit about. So first off, I don't know if you guys have anything you want to jump in and discuss on this thing. But here's how I would like to discuss this. There's a layer to this that I think the general public is not going to see it the same way that we see it in this room. Okay. And so in this room, there's a whole nother layer to this that I think causes this situation to be even more frustrating, and quite frankly, I think infuriating is more the proper word for it. And that is especially in the trainer portion of this. This individual or individuals have just made our lives more difficult. We have not done this. We do not do this. We, I would say, are the polar opposite of what happened. And yet it impacts our lives and our jobs. And we had a meeting, a team meeting, and we've talked about how now all of a sudden our communication needs to increase. The photos, the videos, the reassurance to clients, like we have not, unless I'm mistaken, we have not had a single client reach out to us with a concern with us from the aftermath of this, right?
Negative.
But I also believe it's because we're responding in the right way. And the reason that I say this is because naturally, I think there's going to be questions, right? So like this happens with someone else. You see, like as a client, okay, let's all put ourselves in a situation where our dog is with a trainer, not necessarily us, just a trainer, right? And you see these videos online, and you see what happens to these dogs. Naturally, you immediately put yourself into what's going on with my dog, and the reality is you don't know, right? As soon as you drive out of that driveway, you don't know how your dog is being handled. That's why the trust is so impeccably important, and that's why I believe we put such a priority on building the relationship with the client so that trust is and can be there. But even with all of that, it still makes our job more difficult, because the way I look at it is like if I'm trying to come up with like an analogy on the fly. If I was going to go get teeth pulled tomorrow at a dentist, and all of a sudden I saw a video online that like, this dentist in, I don't know, Louisiana goofed up and did something with the gas and killed somebody, like, and the guy never woke up, like, yeah, I'm going to be nervous going into the dentist tomorrow to get my teeth pulled, right? Like, I think it's just naturally you associate this stuff. And so I'll tell you where else this, like, I'm kind of going on a rant. I don't want this to be a rant. And I promise you I am holding way back with these comments. But the other layer of this is this stuff happening will affect, at some point, it will affect all of us as a community in a whole, because things like e-collar ban will happen. There will be more regulations on training. There will be more regulations on methods, on like there's going to be. And stuff like this is what is going to make that happen. And at some point, I think everybody just has to understand and realize that. So when this happens, right, like I continue to think that, especially because the precedent had already been set in the UK as far as the ban on e-collars, I just think that's an easy target. And if that stuff happens, like, because in one of these videos, because I'll be very honest with you, I haven't watched all the videos, but Zach has. Like, wasn't one of them the collar was being used and the dog was screaming?
Yep.
Okay, like, boom.
Two out of the 3 videos that I saw, 2 of them were collars.
Okay, boom, easy target. All right, so
not only collars, there was other stuff involved, but primarily you could see that the collar was being used in the wrong way.
Easy target. Like, this does have a ripple effect outside of just the incident, right? And I think that's an important thing for everyone, to just see and understand, right? Like, we all get very upset at the individuals that have done this, and I definitely think that it has to be taken care of the way that it needs to be taken care of. But there are ripples that are going to affect more than just that. I think that's very frustrating.
Yeah, I can speak on it a little bit. I don't know what day it was, Monday. I mean, I just woke up in the morning. I'm on my way to work, and my phone is just blowing up with this stuff. I think you said that too, Josh, so I don't know what the heck's going on. And it's made me angry to see it. A lot of my circle of friends who know this is my new, job and doing stuff know I'm, they're just either showing it to me or getting a reaction from me or.
So you're having people see this that aren't even in
No,
necessarily the gun dog community.
No, they just know that I work in that industry. So now I have to.
It makes you realize how quick this stuff can go around.
So, you have to reply back to them. And I think the last podcast we did, I may have spent some time. I mean, I deal a lot with the owners, probably more with the communication piece. And I think I talked about that, how important it is. These are their babies. This is their family pets. I mean, yeah, they're here for training. But we did not get I did not get one call this week wondering about anything from any of our clients, for the fact that I think we've done a good job. You guys done a good job of earning that trust. Mm-hmm. It's just angry that we have to have somebody in the industry that does that, because there is a trickle down effect for everybody who trains dogs. It's just how reality is. And then because of that, changes may be coming down the road because of that. It's like any other profession. Somebody screws up, and so it's frustrating to see somebody just feels like that's the way to go.
Yeah. So there was a guy that I mentored under that told me, I think, one of the most profound things around this topic that I continue to kind of hear in the back of my head, and this is, you might have been with me when Delmer told me this, but we were in a group setting. Where were we? Maybe Kentucky. Remember when we were in Kentucky for my birthday and we were training with him and so. Yeah. And I think there was an individual that was maybe just a little more heavy-handed in a training method than like we would be or he would be. And I remember him kind of, if you know Delmer, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Kind of like shuffle over and kind of like put his arm around you. And he had told me, he said, the more physical that someone has to be with a dog, the less talented of a trainer they are. I think there's like that hits me all the time, just because when you see stuff like this, obviously, like as far as I'm concerned, like what in the world do you think you're getting through to that dog in that moment? Right. There's nothing productive, and I can almost guarantee that if that was in whoever's dog that was, if they knew like what I want the dog to do would require that to happen, I would guarantee you they wouldn't want the dog to do whatever it was being tried to get. Not that, again, that being done, that did nothing but move them backward to whatever goal they were working for in that moment, which of course I don't know what that was, but nothing positive comes to that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And just to kind of speak on the one video I saw, the hunting video, I think, obviously I don't know the backstory, I don't know everything about it, but I can almost guarantee you it all come from his ego getting hurt in front of his buddies hunting. And like that's, you see people all the time like get frustrated with their dog in front of their buddies or whatever, and like some people just take it to the extreme, and it's just not acceptable.
You made a comment the first day that this was going on that I was back home, so it was probably Tuesday, something like that. And you said that you would be willing to bet that that situation in the hunting environment happens way more than the trainer situation. And I thought that was an interesting point, because the way that you said it was just that. Ego's involved. The owner may not even truly understand how to handle the dog, and emotions get high. Things happen.
Yep.
Right? And I think you're probably right. I mean, fortunately, I just don't hunt with a lot of people outside of like my little circle. And I think we all just know like these dogs aren't going to be perfect. Yep. Like we're in uncontrolled situations. There's going to be things that come up, and fortunately enough, we don't have to deal with it. But I definitely see what you're saying with that.
I think, like I was trying to think about reasons why a dog wouldn't go. Like if you're hunting, shoot a bird, it falls down 25 yards in decoys. Why would it not go? One, maybe it didn't see it. Two, maybe it's cold or it's hurt or something. Like, there's not very many reasons why it would not go. Usually, the majority of people are fighting their dog not to go. So, when I was seeing them try to force a dog to go, like, every red flag was thrown, just watching the video. And then, the way I saw it, his buddies were sitting up there laughing at him, seeing it go on, And it's like, it's hurting his ego because his dog's not listening, and he's probably like, well, I'm going to show these guys like I can show this dog what to do, or tell this dog what to do, or make it do it. It's like, relax.
Yeah, and this was one of the videos I have not seen, but just kind of like painting the picture that in that situation. So I can't remember if I've talked about it on here or not, just because we've done webinars. I've been a guest on a couple podcasts here in the last couple of weeks, so like a lot of the stuff is kind of running together. But I go back to that moment last season in Arkansas. It was late season. Everything was really cold. We weren't breaking ice, but it was way cold. And Tucker shut down on me. And we had a big blind. I think we had like 11 guns on that hunt, maybe 12 guns on that hunt. And we were finishing big groups of teal. Big groups is, I'm not ashamed to say we're finishing big groups of spoonies, and
You should be.
We shouldn't be, right? Everybody was just having a blast, and so he was having a lot of birds to pick up on volleys, and he came back, and everyone in this room knows Tucker. I mean, he's got all the heart and all the motor that you could ask for, and he came back. I don't even know what number retrieved, and I lined him up on a blind, and I said back, and he didn't even flinch, and I looked at him. And, like, his body posture was just off. His tail was kind of tucked a little bit. And I was like, something's wrong. And so I check his gums. His gums are white. I watched him. I visibly watched him in the next couple of minutes, like, start to shut down. We were able to get him back to the side-by-side, which got him back to the truck, which got him back to camp, warmed him up, got some food in him. He bounced back. But like Dr. Spoot said, he said that your ego in that situation potentially saved his life. You think about a situation like you're talking about, Zach, if that person is going, you son of a gun, like you are going, I told you to back, you're not doing it, you're making me look like a fool in front of my friends,
Yep.
and I force it. That dog is telling you something's wrong, right? Read the dog. And this is where I believe that people struggle with the relationship with their dog because they think the dog should just do everything they tell them to do. And the reason they think that is because 9 times out of 10, they do everything that they tell them to do. So when they don't do it, instead of stepping back and saying, is something wrong? Is something confusing? Is something not being understood? Is go through the checklist, they automatically go to defiance. Now, some dogs that may be the case, but my argument is, if you know your dog and you've done the work and you've prepared to be in that situation and something is not going right, I'm going to guess it's not. I'm going to guess something else is off. Okay? And again, all this is so dog to dog, but you can see where I'm going with this. In that case, the picture that you're painting in my head anyways of what happened was that dog could be giving the signs of like hypothermia. Right. I don't know the situation, so I'm not trying to, and I shouldn't even be saying this because now there's going to be these like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in my situation with Tucker in that spot, I said back and he didn't go. If I didn't recognize that, I know that if I would have lined him up and been like back and just made him go, he would have went. I know Tucker, unless he just absolutely physically couldn't have moved, he would have went, and he would have been in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And that would have been my ego putting him there.
Kind of talking on ego. Sorry, I cut you off there,
No,
Whitney.
you're good.
But it seems like the more experienced dog people that I get around, the less ego they have. As far as like, let's just say you didn't know me and I was there training and my dog's no-going me or something. Like, I would probably be embarrassed, but to you, it's nothing because you're out there training and you're trying to develop the dog or develop the situation as to where, if you get around someone who doesn't have any experience with a dog and they just buy a hunting dog and it goes out there no-goes or whatever, then they're the ones who really get mad at the dog and frustrated, probably because they don't know what's happening or don't understand what's happening, as opposed to being around you guys, that understand what's going on. It's no big deal. It's like, all right, well, let's just work through this. Instead of getting frustrated, angry, or physical with the dog or whatever, you're able to just like, hey, it's okay. Let's figure this out. And that's something I think just comes with maybe experience or not being an idiot. But
Yeah,
That's what I say.
A lot at the second.
Yeah.
I just think a dog wants to please you. They're going to do everything they can to make you happy. Like, they love you unconditionally more than anything else. And now here you are. It's your problem. You're the problem. You haven't taught them, or you're not reading the situation, yet you are taking your anger out on them.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about in most situations, someone that is being physical towards a dog, in most situations, that dog could rip you apart if it really lost its mind and wanted to. And instead, it chooses to be submissive and accept it because it's looking to you for leadership. It's a sad thing when you feel like you have to get to that point. So, to be honest with you, I'd rather not go on this much longer. Yeah, I think I can tell you I am holding back. I know you guys are holding back. We're trying to be professional about this thing. But like it's incredibly infuriating. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. Let's go to something a little more enjoyable. How was your guys' week training?
Good. Good week.
Yeah, it's been a good week. Got bird and gun going home. It's always fun to see those dogs go home, and it's been really fun to see the intermediate ones start to get a little bit better with the on lead, and Dave's been doing a good job with the table work, and then watching the advanced dogs too. I mean, it's just fun to see the progression, you know. And then I fortunate enough to run every Wednesday night. I do a strike force event, and some of these.
For those of you that don't know, that's the training group. We have in Retrieve Roadmap. We have training groups all over the country, and Eric leads the one in this area. So he does every Wednesday night.
It's been now every Wednesday night since Wednesday, and we're going on a year of that. And some of our Retriever Roadmap clients have been coming for a year, so it's just been an absolute joy to see the progression of the dogs. Not only the dogs, but the owners, because the owners got to go home and work on stuff too. So,
well, it gives the owners an opportunity to use a tech pond and use property and use tools and equipment. You know,
it's been a blessing. So it's that's probably been my highlight of the week is watching the owners from not only Retriever Roadmap owners, but even the owners coming in for check-ins or picking up their dog, just static to where it's at and just learning. And that's been fun for me.
Dave, how many dogs do you have on the table right now?
Oh, roughly 15.
So how, give us a little bit of behind the scenes, like how do you keep things fresh? Because obviously you're a big part of that, right? As far as that dog's experience while they're on the table, you have to be just as fresh with dog 15 as you were with dog 1, right? So, like, what do you do to kind of stay mentally engaged and enthusiastic through what is a very repetitive and, quite frankly, for lack of a better term, boring process at times?
Just keep changing it up each day. Gotta be repetitive, but we'll go from doing one process, make sure that's good, and just keep moving. And then, not to go back to what we were just talking about, I end every session sitting on the table with these dogs, petting them, letting them love up on me before they go back in the kennel.
I think that's a huge deal. I mean,
deal.
from the relationship side, you know, especially because you're thinking about a dog going on the table. Oftentimes, is it fair to say that of these 15 dogs, that the majority of them were nervous or apprehensive being on the table the first time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So by you spending that time, their last thought of the table was being able to spend that time in a relationship manner with you. And I think that's very important because then the next time, their mindset isn't, oh, that was a really stressful 10 to 15 minutes. It was, oh, I got to sit here and love up on my new buddy, you know, for a couple minutes. That was my last thought.
Yeah.
And hopefully, so how long have those dogs been on the table?
15 days.
Okay.
Roughly.
So, like with this group, because every group's gonna be a little different, right? So, like with this group, was there a certain day ballpark that you're like, all right, everybody's comfortable now and everybody's kind of rocking and rolling on this thing, or like?
Usually between day 2 and 4 with this group is when I actually started training. The first couple days, it's just get up there and sit and hang out with them, and walk up and down so they get used to it, and then continue on from there.
Yeah, I think that's great too because of the fact that you're not getting on this table, which they are apprehensive about in the first place,
Yeah.
and you start immediately causing stress. Right? And so when I say stress, I'm not saying there's positive stress. I think everybody hears stress, you automatically think negative, right? There's positive stress in that this is uncomfortable, but through the uncomfortability, we show you how to be successful and in turn build confidence all around, right? But if you went and made a stressful situation more stressful by asking more out of this dog when they're not comfortable, that's when you move backwards. That's when you get a dog shuts down, regresses, right? To me, that's where this is what's so interesting, right? So we're on a timeline,
Yeah.
but we also can't be in a hurry.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of a tough needle to thread.
Yeah.
Let me put this in perspective. Most people are just train retrieving their own dog at the house. One dog. He's doing 15.
That's right.
I figured out his secret sauce.
And, well, I think I know what you're going to
I was
say
waiting on that
because
to come up.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
he's in the back, and Zach and I will go back there, and Dave just got to be there by himself, and it's boring, and it's repetitive, and I think I know what you're going to say. Talk about music?
Yeah, I've known Dave for 13 years, you guys. And I walked in the back, and he was listening. He was listening to, like, this gangster rap music back there. And I was like, Dave, is this your music
Turtle
choice?
Box.
So are we talking
On
like
the turtle box, like,
NWA or like Tupac or?
Once in a while. we vary it up.
who knew? Usually it's like,
of all the things I would guess Dave listened to.
I know, usually it's like, sometimes it's like horse shows or, you know,
Brewers
like
game.
Brewers games.
Brewers
And I was
game's
like,
consistent.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, man, who is listening to this gangster rap? And I was like, that's it. That's the secret sauce.
I love it.
You gotta keep yourself mentally engaged.
That's so great. That's so great. I wish so bad that I would have gotten to see that.
And he's so calm, he'll have Tupac playing in the background. He just sitting there petting the dog on the table.
That's awesome. That's great.
I was waiting on someone to say that
Oh my
because
gosh.
as soon as he started talking, I'm like, how are you staying mentally engaged?
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
know.
oh, that
Oh,
rap music.
here we
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so now whenever we do this, we're gonna have like tune of the week from Dave.
Oh, yeah.
You have to let
for
us know what it
sure.
is.
Dave picks the intro music.
There you go. I like it. I like it. We'll have to just use the non-explicit version. Make it family friendlier.
Yeah.
That's great. Good. What about any specific training? I have one myself, but is there anything you guys want, like any specific training situations that you're like, I really want to talk about this? I think I have a really good one.
Go ahead
but-
with yours.
Okay. So this is in our advanced class, we have a dog named Willow. And Willow right now is, I think, in a very interesting stage. Okay. So she came in, and for a lack of a better term, she was kind of all over the place. You know, I mean, Zach's been there every step of the way, so he's nodding in agreement. Just very, very, not even anxious, just like wiggly, like just like, you know. And so first it was like, oh, maybe there's a little immaturity, right? So like you kind of clean that up and then kind of get her dialed in. And I kind of felt like she was like kind of lagging behind the class a little bit. And then once I really connected with her, it was like boom, 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 boom. Then she's like flying through everything, right? So where I have her now is she's running 5-point, which is a lining drill. And I can go around to every pile. Boom, 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 boom. She's on it, like hard charging, everything you can ask for. I have a whistle stopping in or out. She will stop on a dime. She'll be under control. I can cast her back. I can bring her back to me. I mean, she's, again, completely under control. But once I stop her, and she does everything I ask for her from there forward, right? Can stop her, push her back, stop her, bring her in, stop, you know, like. But after I do that one time, she'll come back and she will no-go me and completely freeze up. So from a training side, what's difficult is that if she's only giving us the one time to work on in-route stops, to work on a cast, to work, and then you shut down, there's much less training that can happen in that session, right? Now, we take her back out an hour later, she's back to her normal self. But the second you ask her to stop, that's when she's going to no-go you the next time. So here's my read on this. And I think this is really interesting. So if you think about her in this moment, why is she doing so well on the lining drills? Because she's thinking about going. She's like, I know where to go. As soon as he says it, I'm 100 miles an hour. I'm go, 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 right? The second that I ask her to stop, and she does it well, and she does everything I ask her to do. But when she comes back, she's now thinking about stopping. She's no longer thinking about going. She's thinking about stopping. This is a dog that I believe is trying to do it right. I don't think she's being defiant. Quite frankly, I don't think she's shutting down. I think I said that just a minute ago. It's not the right verbiage. I think she's just thinking about stopping. And she's wanting to do it right so bad that she's overthinking it. And so what we need to do is we need to loosen that up. So I had a call with her owners about this and told them this exact same thing. And through the conversation, it was like, okay, so where do we go from here, right? Well, like, we need to loosen her up, right? We need to stop being overly control. Like, we could be a little looser with her at the line, right? Like, let's not think so much. Let's not and just go. And we had success the last 2 days. I haven't told their owners this, so Jeremy and Brittany, if you're listening, I was specifically trying to withhold the information until like I knew we had the epiphany. But we've had success, not like night and day, but a couple little wins the last couple days, which has been great. But where I'm going with this is kind of similar to what we started this whole thing with. Okay, if I would be reading this, being like, you're being defiant, you need to go, or I'm going to force you, whether that's with the collar, whatever, going to force you back, I think you only go backwards, and I think backwards in a hurry with this dog in particular. The read is not, I'm choosing not to go. The read is actually that I'm thinking more about what I'm trying to do this right. And the more pressure I put on her in this moment, the less she is going to actually go do what I want her to do, because she's going to get confused. And so through this conversation, the comment came up from her owners of that of the collar. So every time, little side note, Willow and none of our advanced dogs, Zach, check me if I'm being dishonest, none of our advanced dogs have had a collar on the entire time they've been in.
Not once.
Okay? They're all doing pretty dang good.
Yep.
But not once, okay? But every time I talk about pressure, people think collar. Immediately, collar, right? Pressure can be my body. Pressure can be my voice. In this case, pressure is the whistle. I apply pressure, and although she does it, and does it really well, she comes back and is immediately thinking too much. Okay? The reason that this is a worthwhile conversation for everyone just to think about is because when you apply pressure too often, especially with a young dog, especially a dog that wants to do it right so badly, you're going to make them overthink situations. Okay? So like in this one, I need to now backtrack and less pressure and think less and be more free. And and there are going to be repercussions of it, right? You're not going to be as tight obedient-wise as I would love you to be, right? But I want to loosen you up. Like, stop thinking so much. Go be free. Go. And once we get that, once we get over the hump that I'm trying to get over, now we can start to bring it all back, right? There's always going to be this give and take. But pressure doesn't always mean collar, right? And so I actually think this has been a fun little process.
Yep.
I'm looking at Zach, because Zach's been doing the advanced class with me here this whole time. And, I think what's interesting to me is that if you would watch Willow up until that point of handling her on one of her sends, I think she's certainly top couple in the class.
Yeah.
If you watch her up to that point, right?
Yeah, especially if someone just saw her, they would say that she's a rocket ship leaving there. Like, she's super confident, ready to go. Yeah.
And then the one time, it's just amazing how it's a completely different dog. So now for us, we don't panic, right? Like, it's part of it, right? She's telling us something's not right. It's our job to figure out what it is, okay? And we went through probably 5 or 6 different things on the whole Rubik's Cube to see what the combination was. And this is why when you run into a major block, as this felt like, certainly, like by sending in a message, to me online of being like, hey, my dog's doing this, what do I do? Like, it's not black and white, right? Especially when I don't know the dog, right? If I didn't know Willow and someone just sent this in, like could be a lot of things. And I do believe that the read is so important. I do believe that if someone looks at that dog and it's like, she's just choosing not to go. Like, how do I make her go? That's not what this is, right? The read is so important. You have to read it right. If you don't read it right, you are not going to be able to communicate effectively. You can't communicate effectively. You're not going to reach your goal. You need to read it right. And I think this is where, from an ego standpoint, sometimes you have to put aside and be like, I don't know what I'm reading. I don't know how to read this book.
You had a situation, I've watched you guys do this almost every morning. Remember the dog that went out and whistle sat, and you showed on video how good you are at reading a dog and anticipating too.
Babs, yep.
Yep. And you showed it on video to Zach and say, listen, I knew exactly what this was going to do, but I blew that whistle, which is pressure, and you're just good at what you do, and it just eliminated a whole nother issues down the road by just reading that and being able to know how to do that.
100%. Okay, so that situation, that's another great situation that came out of this last week or two. So Babs, little yellow female, that, I mean, she's turned into a powerhouse. Like, she was probably at one point, I mean, if I'm being really honest, she was probably bottom of the class, advanced class. Fair. I mean, like, when I say bottom, like, I'm not saying like she was no good. I'm just saying like she was further behind.
Right.
And she wanted to use her eyes so bad. That was the big thing with her. And now I'd say she's right up there with everybody, like top half for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so what happened with her was, when we do our lining drills and, we get that confidence of going and carrying that line, they're not seeing something go down, which is difficult for these dogs that they're learning. And they're driving to a pile, trusting that something's going to be there. Well, when I start stopping them en route, and we're doing all this stuff on the side, right? We're doing all the whistle stops. We're doing three-handed casting. We're doing all this stuff. When I start whistle stopping them and they turn and they stop, I'll give them that back cast. One, because back is by far the most difficult cast to give versus an over. And then 2, I'm driving them back to where they already know they're going. So it gives them the confidence of, hey, I can stop and I'm still going to get to go, right? So now in this case that you watched and you're referencing, Eric, is I sent Babs, I threw a bumper behind her that she didn't see as she's running. I stop her. She stops and she looks at me. Now she knows she's going to go back because that's what we've done. And I ask her to come back in. So I tweet, 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 bring my hand down. And she hesitates because I didn't give her the back cast like she thought. And I went, tweet, 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 brought my hand down again. She hesitates again, thought for a quick second, and then she turned to go back. Now, if I miss that, if my whistle is not in my mouth and I'm not good enough at reading this in the situation, right, I whistled her again before she turned, right? Now, if she turns and starts driving back and I whistle again, I've lost her. The timing is so important. So that peep again, now it's pressure, right? Peep again at the right point. She goes, what? I just make her stop and think about it. And I just slowly tweet, tweet, tweet. And she very reluctantly came in and was like, what are you? And all of a sudden she steps right on the bumper. She's like, oh, gets all excited. Here it is, and then comes back super proud. That's the difference between that clicking on that first time and fighting this for potentially weeks.
Yeah.
That split second. And I mean, you guys watched it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was like a big breakthrough. Like, you could see her, she's like, what am I doing? And then, boom, she smelled it, got it, and then she was a totally different dog. Like, she was confident, like, okay, I trust you more now because of this.
Right. And now the next time that I ask her to do that, or did ask her to do that, it's not no, I'm going to fight you going back because that's what I do. That's what I got away with last time. Like, I know, like, let me go. It's not this fight. It's like, all right, well, anywhere you tell me to go, there's going to be that reward. So just tell me where to go, right? And the trust happens. But that was timing. And it was fun to have you guys there because we had it on a video. Zach was videoing for her owner because I just wanted to show like the first time. You know, sometimes the first time is a train wreck. Sometimes the first time is just like that. Like, and that to me is the most fun because you can watch the wheels turn. You can watch them think. You can watch them have that epiphany, that success. I think it's super fun to be around and watch. But on the video, we had the opportunity to watch it and back it up and slow it down and back it up and slow it down. And if you geek out about this stuff, like we all do, like, you know, like three idiots huddling around the phone and be like, oh, look at how cool this is, you know? But it really is. It's neat to watch them grasp and comprehend this stuff. But the timing and how you communicate is just, it's so incredibly important.
I just had a conversation with a Retriever Road Map member last night about issues, and he's just so behind on the timing. I think you get frustrated with that, and I just said, no, you just really have to, you're just making this a longer process because of the timing of it. And it's just fun to see that play out with you guys in Advanced Dogs. And I've just learned, like, pressure too. Whistle's pressure, voice is pressure, body language is pressure. It has nothing to do with the e-collar. And
Well, I mean, it does when you have when you're using the collar.
when you're using the
right?
collar, but like in
outside
this
of it.
point, it's very important. I mean, it's, you know, body language too.
This stuff is hard that we're asking the dogs to do. Like, you know, as I'm learning this, like how to handle dogs and do things like that, it is so difficult to get them to do these things because telling them to go, they have to run, they don't need to stop, then you're telling them to stop, then you're telling them to stop and then go back, and then you're telling them to stop and then come to you. It's like, for a dog to absorb this it's incredible. I mean, and to do it at the level and the speed that these guys are doing it is even more incredible. Like, when I always talk about people about running blinds and stuff, I think about, like, you know, everyone wants a dog, high momentum, keep going, but it's like, if someone told me just to run as fast as I can down this road and you'll tell me when to stop, like, I don't think I'm going to run as hard as I would as if I run to the stop sign and stop, you know? It's pretty cool to see and see their minds working throughout the day.
So I've said this a couple times this year, and I stopped saying it because I don't think the point I was trying to make was getting across by saying it. But I said intermediate's easy. This is difficult. What I was trying to say, intermediate's not easy. Right? Like, when you start talking about what all goes into making, it's not. What I meant by it, and it was the wrong way to say it, what I meant by it was, through the intermediate process, you have the dog's natural ability to lean on. The dog wants to go do it, right? Now, there are parts, table work with Dave. Like, dog don't want to do that. Dave doesn't want to do that. Right? Like, it's boring, it's repetitive, it's not like, we all want to be out in the field. We want to be doing water work. We want to be running through decoys. We want to be, like, that's what we want to be doing, right? But everything that you're doing, whether it's making a dog be steady, right, honoring, marking, you have the dog's natural desire to lean on. The dog wants to go do it. Why? Because mom and dad and grandpa and grandma and great-grandpa and great-grandma put that into them. They see something go down, they want to go get it. Of course, we're talking retrievers. If you have a pointer, there's a different thought process. But that is naturally in that dog, and that's why when I say that intermediate is easy, it's easier because you have that advantageous situation. You don't have that in advanced. Advanced is, like you said, there's nothing natural about putting a dog in the middle of a field and saying, run this way as fast as you can. And then, when you hear a whistle, turn and look at me. And I'll use my hand and tell you which way to run hard again in.
At a perfect angle. Yeah. Whatever way my hand goes up.
That's right. But there's something about what you're talking about, Eric. I think this, to me, if I could get this across to more people that are struggling, I think it would really help. But I think the frustration comes towards the dog too often. So when you say, and I don't know who this is, and I don't want you to say a name, okay? whoever this is that's coming to you is frustrated because the dog is struggling. There's probably frustration towards the dog. And quite frankly, the frustration should probably be towards the owner or towards yourself. And why doesn't that happen? I think a couple things. One, I think everyone is just so desensitized to having the dog as a part of their life. Okay, it's in the house, goes to the t-ball games, goes to cabin, does all the stuff that's just a constant part, right? And I think a dog in the house is fantastic. I think it's great. But I think if that dog was like a kennel dog and you only had so much time with the dog a day, I think there'd be more appreciation for your role in that. I just think you kind of get desensitized, to the dog being in your life, you being in the dog's life. But also, there's something to be said about, like, well, I've owned dogs my whole life. I don't care. Like, why does that qualify you to know what this dog is doing, right? Why does that qualify you to be a handler, period, if we're going to be really honest, right? You got to put the work in for you. You got to put the work in for yourself. You got to become a better handler, okay? And I just think that this gets lost of, okay, so what are you doing? Okay, so for example, so we had at the Delta Waterfall Expo, we had a guy named Al Arthur. Al is a very successful field trial pro, and he and I get along well. I think just from past experiences and mutual, relationships and everything, we just have gotten along well. So we're on a panel, and that panel is anybody can ask any question that they want to ask. So this guy raises his hand, he asks a question about auto casting. Okay, so my dog auto casts once he gets past, I can't remember, 150 yards, whatever it was. And he's like, how do I fix that? And so I just jumped in first. And I was like, I think that this is a prime situation for this, but I think more often you should be asking the question, how did I cause this? More than you should, how do I fix this? Because this is a you thing. Like, the dog didn't just decide to do this. The dog didn't naturally want to do this, but they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, specifically at a certain distance, because you are doing something. So first, fix you. Identify what you're doing, fix that first, and then apply it and work on it with the dog. And I bet you'd be surprised how often it, quote unquote, fixes itself. And Al leaned down, he looked at me, he goes, that is the best way I've ever heard that described. Like, there's just too much of like again, like we will all say, we don't expect our dogs to be robots. We don't expect them to do everything perfect. But then again, yes, you do. And it's unfair. You shouldn't be asking that of them. Right? Eric, we were just talking about what I'm dealing with right now in rodeo. Okay? And this is something you asked me to talk about. This is perfect timing about this. Okay? So I switched horses, and I went from my old horse, Willie, to my young horse, Hurricane. And Hurricane is infinitely more talented. He's infinitely more naturally gifted, but he's a 6-year-old horse versus a 16-year-old horse. And he literally ran in his first, like, I've run him twice, and those are the first 2 times he's ever run in a rodeo. Okay. And this comparison is as clear as I feel like I can make this, because I'm dealing with literally the exact same thing. So I go in, and I was on a streak with Willie that I caught in, like 6 straight rodeos. Okay. And I've missed now every time on Hurricane, or both times. Okay. But that doesn't mean we're unsuccessful. What I'm learning is what I need to do better to make Hurricane successful. So Hurricane walks in there, and naturally he's not used to this environment, right? So the speakers, the noise, the pressure, and I'm sure I'm not the same person as I am practicing, right? With no pressure, I bet you I'm giving off signals, right? So how do I do that, right? So like, I'm trying to understand that, I'm trying to communicate with him, but I'm also understanding, like, I'm not going in there and having these 2 runs and being like, Hurricane's just not the horse I thought he was. No, I'm going in here going, what am I doing What can I be doing better? Like, and I'm watching these runs, and I'm watching over and over again. I'm sending them to Chance, who's my buddy that trained Hurricane. And we're getting better. Last night was infinitely better than last week, and I'm going to say that Saturday is probably going to be even more improved. But I'm not sitting here going, well, what's his problem? I'm saying, what's my problem? What am I doing wrong? Because I'm not a professional at this at all. So I'm trying to learn. So I'm trying to say, how can I make my young horse better? By working on me. Not what is he doing wrong, because I know he's got all the tools. What am I doing wrong? Because I'm communicating with him in certain ways, especially in that moment. This is exactly like having a young dog. Having that young dog in a first hunt, or going in that hunt test, or going into that first high pressure situation, and your dog embarrasses you. A lot of it is probably how you handle that situation. And think about this too. I am not looking at Hurricane of being like, well, this is what I did on Willie. Why can't he just do that? It's a different animal. It's a different animal with a different maturity level, with way less experience and exposure, and he's trying to do it right too, right? It would be unfair of me to go, well, this is what I did, and I would hear this all the time, right? Well, my old dog did this. This is the way I did it with my old dog. Stop thinking about your old dog. This is not your old dog. And guess what? You did a lot of things with your old dog that you don't even remember doing because it was so long ago. You need to look at this as this is different. What do you need to do to get better at this? And again, the whole reason I talk about that is because, again, I'm trying to understand. I'm talking about me. How do I get better to make our team better? And too often with the dogs, I just think there's this, people get used to it, right? It's more of what is the dog doing wrong? How do I fix the dog? How do I make the dog do this? Okay, look at yourself. You're the one driving the car. You need to look at yourself.
Good stuff.
That's what I've got. We're doing we got to do a dog bowl question because I have not done one in a little while. I'd like to do one that we all can do. So let's see here.
Hey, we're at no blackouts so far in this
No,
episode.
I was
the pressure's
holding
on.
my breath. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
I know. Every time I opened my mouth, I was like, oh, don't black out. Don't black out.
All right, Zach.
Okay.
What
There's
is 326 divided by 4?
Oh my god.
I'm probably better at math than no kidding.
Okay, so
I'm so pumped up you brought up the rap music.
Oh my! I was literally shocked. I was like, "What in the Dave listens to rap?
Oh yeah.
Who knew? I had no idea."
I think you and I both started laughing or smiling at each other when he was telling about it because
Yeah.
we were on the same page, and then you said it.
Okay, so I'm going to do this one because Zach's going to have an interesting perspective on this. Okay? Eric is going to have an interesting perspective on this, and I think Whitney is, in very different ways.
Okay.
Okay? This is obviously a question meant for me, but I think... Okay, so the question is, what lessons and learnings have you brought to dog training from your rodeo endeavors? So Zach has it. Are you blacking out?
No.
Okay.
No.
I couldn't
I
tell
was
if
thinking. I was thinking, but I wasn't blacking out.
Zach has a rodeo background, if you guys don't know, in fighting bulls.
Right.
And you can tell, Zach's around all the time, we're practicing. He loves it. Loves being around it. So you can speak, I think, more from your side of that.
Yep.
But then Eric has been around it, I think, enough to, and you've heard me talk a lot about it. And then Whitney gets drugged to about every rodeo that there is in the Midwest, So, all right. So Zach,
Can you read it one more time?
what lessons and learnings have you brought to dog training from your rodeo endeavors?
Okay.
I'm going to say reading animals. So, when you're fighting bulls, you're trying to read the bull.
Trying to not die.
Yeah, trying to not die. So when a bull rider's on their back, you're trying to read what the bull rider's doing, you're trying to read what the bull's doing, and you're trying to basically foreshadow everything that's going to happen. So the bull's spinning to the right and you see the guy hanging out on the outside, there's a chance he's going to roll his hand over and get hung up. But you got to be able to read that prior to it happening. And, I mean, that's the difference between decent and great, right? Like, the better you are at reading these animals, the better a bullfighter you're going to be. So when I think about going to the dog training side is we always talk about reading animals. I mean, you just talked about it for 20 minutes about reading animals. But I think, like, being around animals, how they move, like the way you walk around an animal, how they're going to react, I think all that translates to the dog training side of it. Not necessarily. Here's a blackout moment. No.
And we're back.
No, I just think the way you're moving around an animal, I would say that's how mine translates.
Didn't you say something like you're reading their shoulders? Did you say that, or am I making that up?
You can read their shoulders a little bit, but it's more of a combo. You're trying to read what the bull rider's doing as well as what the bull's doing, because sometimes it doesn't matter what the bull's doing because the guy's going to be thrown way off and, like, there's not going to be a wreck. But sometimes a bull will do a certain move that'll make the bull rider do something. So you're just trying to read it all, and it's hard.
But am I making that up? Did you say it? I felt like one time you were like, everybody thinks you're reading the head, but you actually read something else. Am I making that up?
You might be making that up.
Yeah, maybe I'm making it up.
Bull riders look at their, like, right down at their hand or right at the neck of the bull instead of the head because their head's slinging around, going every way. It's like playing defense in basketball.
Right.
I'm not a basketball player, but, like, I remember being a kid.
Obviously.
Being a kid, didn't they say look at the belly button or, like, look at their stomach or something?
I think you're thinking of tackling a running back.
Am I?
I think so. That's what we were always told. Like, you read the belt buckle because, like, their head and their shoulders can do stuff, but they can only go where their hips go.
Okay, well, I'm not too far off.
Yeah. I mean, you're wrong sport.
Well, it's a sport.
The basketball coach over here is going like, "What are you talking about?"
If you guys can sense, this is kind of how our day goes at the kennel too. Conversations like this,
100%.
we'll be laughing in the office because stuff like that.
So
for me, well, I've been to more rodeos than I've ever been now, and I've also been to more training sessions. I've never been to training sessions, and I like those the best. I like watching you work on those. To see how things progress. For me, it's like patience. It blows my mind that you go to a rodeo and you get one shot, which takes a couple seconds to rope it. And if you happen to rope it, what is that, 15 to 12? And that's it. And you and I are baseball guys. So the analogy for baseball is all you and I, hitting, we get 4 at bats a night. If you do bad the first time, you get another one. You do all that traveling to go there. And when it can be frustrating or during training, it's just patience. And you're really good at that, of figuring that out, because it can really easily get frustrating. And then how do you deal that with the dogs? It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, especially with the animal side of it, right?
Yeah.
Because, we talked about, getting a young dog. Like, I've always said this, like, I believe that the reason people say that their dogs hit their prime at, like, some people say 4, some people say 5, 6, everybody has a different number. But I think that has everything to do with that's when the dog has had enough reps to where they can just be flow, right? Like, I heard a sports psychologist one time talk about flow state. Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
Eric? Okay, so flow, like I'm not thinking anymore, I'm just doing it, right? Like, I'm just comfortable, right? So a young dog is naturally going to be overthinking everything until they get enough repetitions to our flow state, right? So, like, I think a guide dog, I think about, like, our buddies at, like, Stewart Ranch or Falco, those guys that, like, they're literally hunting every day. Like, I'd be willing to bet the guys tell you, like, by the end of that first season, they've got it, right? Well, yeah, when you're picking up 1,000 birds, like, okay, right? Some dogs don't do that in a lifetime. So, in this, like, what I'm talking about with Hurricane, like, going in, like, everything that he has to be desensitized to, right? Like, like, I missed last night. Again, and a lot of there's a lot of things going on of why, but at the end of the day, like, we had, by the time I rode into that arena, by the time I rode out, I bet you, a minute?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you get a horse through that? Like, so what we end up doing is we just sit there and watch the rest of the rodeo. We sit there and watch, like, so he gets desensitized all the other noise, and by the time we get, now unfortunately we're always first, or one of the first events, and so like he's naturally just edgy and jacked up, but then it's like halfway through it he's like, oh, okay, he's normal now, he's not looking, not, like there has to be things that I'm doing. I can't just go for that minute and be like, well, now we'll wait a couple days and do another minute again, right? Like it is difficult. Whitney, what about for you?
For me, I would say mine is on, I love Willie. Like, he's a really, really, really easy horse. Mm-hmm. And Hurricane being young, I tried to ride him a couple times. We just did not click. I always thought he was, like, just glitchy. I was like, God, like, I just moved the reins and he's, like, overthinking it. And one day you changed the bit. And after changing the bit, I fell in love with him because he's no longer glitchy. He was super smooth. And I was like, oh my gosh, like by changing this one little piece of gear completely changed how he reacted to me, steering him, working him, riding him. And now I literally love them the same. Like you could say, who do you want to ride? And I'm like, I don't care, just saddle one. So going then to the dog training, it's like, I don't really train my girls much, but if they're having an issue with a leash or a place board or a bumper, now I'm like, okay, well, I need to change what I'm using to better accommodate them and their training to be more successful.
Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I mean,
that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, tool's not working, change the tool.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's a really, really good one. I could go on for another hour about this topic. I won't. But the one thing that I'll say is that, I talked a lot about this already. So I won't. I'll pick a different kind of topic on this. But I think for me, it's put me in a situation to be in my client's shoes. And I think that's really valuable. So with the dogs, I know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, because I've done this since I was 15. Like, so 20 years I've been around, I've been doing this. I've been doing this with the horses for 2. And then to make the situation even more amplified, I'm trying to compete against people that have done this literally their entire life. And so it's made me understand like how I need to read and how my response, I do it second nature with the dogs, but I have had to really think and work really hard with the horse stuff because it's different. The communication is different. The thought process is still the same, but it is a very different animal you're communicating with. And so, but it's made me empathize more with someone that comes in and, I've trained the dog and I got the dog dialed in. I know what's going on. And then the owner comes in and is like flustered and isn't smooth and doesn't know what you're doing. And I think it's made me just like, even greater appreciate training the people because I just am in a different light with it. So
it's good stuff.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to get rolling so we can go pick kids up from daycare and school and everything else. So anyways, I appreciate all you guys, what you guys do, and thank you for being here again to talk. So I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll come back at you again soon.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.